Hello my felting friends, welcome to this week's picture. This week we're going to do a fairly simple one. The most fiddly bit of this will be the flowers, otherwise the whole thing is pretty straightforward and very good for a beginner if you want to have a go. So all we're doing first of all today is we're just going to put some simple blue sky in just on one side of the picture at the moment anyway. I didn't bother to put a drawing up for this one either really this week because it's pretty straightforward and you can do things wherever you'd like to have them. Just follow basically the idea of what I'm doing. So I've started off with some blue and now I've just got some white and I've done it thinly and spread it out so that I'm just going to put it in roughly as a few little clouds. So as you can see, I've just scrunched it up a bit and I'm just sort of like blobbing it down and then just felting it in. So I don't want them particularly in straight lines or anything. I'm just having some fluffy clouds today. And we're going to have a little bit of a sunset or a sunrise here. So I've started off this bit with some quite dark orange, which is fine because we're going to put some layering over it as well. So it doesn't matter if it's quite dark. And I'm going to, so what I've done here now is I've mixed some of that orange colour I've got already and I've mixed it with a little bit of white, and all I'm doing is lightening it up because we're going to have a sun in here eventually, so as it gets towards the sun it'll be lighter. So there's no specifics about this other than try and keep the light in the middle. You'll see what I mean in a minute. We're just putting clouds over really, so this is what I said about the orange. The dark orange underneath, it didn't matter how dark it was because we're going to put some light bits on it. So again, all I've done is roll up a bit of white and I'm putting it in roughly where I want my sun. You don't have to worry about getting it completely round because we're going to cover it all over and it's going to look really, really hazy. So don't work particularly hard on making sure it's perfectly round. And so this is some more of that yellow and white that we mixed together earlier. And it's just going back over because I don't want that orange that's underneath to be too stark, and I'm just making sure I fill it right down to the line where the fields and things are going to start. But again, with this orange here, I'm going to add some more white over it like this. Now I have a final picture at the end of this which is slightly, just a little bit slightly different from what I'm doing here, and I'll tell you as I go along what I'm changing, but you'll see in the end picture. I decided, having looked at it after I'd finished it again like I thought, that it needed a little bit of blue on the other side, so I do put a touch of blue on the final picture on the left hand side just at the top, not very much because I want the majority of it over that side to be the orange. But you will see I added a little touch of blue later on over that side. And now I'm just trying to soften it so that the orange blends in with the blue and the blue blends in with the orange a bit. So I will go backwards and forwards. I mix the orange with the white, the blue with the white, and at one point I mix all that together. So you've got the orange, the blue and the white all mixed together. And as it comes away from the centre, it's just light. I'm just keeping it fairly light. So just keep laying this up until you're happy with the look you have. And I just went back over just a little bit over the sun as well because I'd layered so much else over it, it started to disappear completely. So I just popped a little bit more white over that. But I do work for quite a little while on the sky here. So obviously you don't need to copy what I'm doing, it's just the idea of it. So pop in some clouds wherever you'd like to have them and however you'd like the colour to change. If you didn't want any of the blue, you could do the whole sky orange, the orangey colour, that would be fine. It got very bright all of a sudden. But you can see the sky now, you can see how I've done it. I've just blended it in. Now, all I'm putting in the background here are just a small set of mountains. And this is my favourite colour of wool I get from World of Warcraft. This is the pewter, which I do like. It does distant mountains really well. So I've mixed up here. So I've put the pewter down as it was, and now I'm mixing some yellow with it, and I mixed some blue and that with it, because I want some highlighty colour and I want some dark colour. So, but I didn't put too much. It's very subtle. If you didn't put this on, it really wouldn't matter. I would suggest that if you don't want to put the highlight, do put a little bit of shadow colour, because you want to define each separate hill or mountain. So this is just that pewter mixed with some blue. I did try at one point mixing a little bit of magenta in it as well, and it was fine. So but I really wanted that blue to give it that darker shadow. And I'm really using the shadow to just draw out where each mountain is. I'm not quite sure why it keeps flicking from very bright to dull. I do have some very bright lights overhead, and that might be what's doing it, but the colour from the side view is more what it actually is than the top view, if that helps any. So now I'm just marking in some fields. This is going to be distant fields again over this way. And if you look, my greens, I've done what I normally do, and that's just mush some different coloured greens together, not very neatly, and just, it doesn't matter to me that it's blobby. So I just mush some greens together and I just lay it all down for the field. Because this is just my base green really. It's more about just getting something on the felt base that I have, and then I can go and I can work a little bit on adding some lighter colours and things. And I have just this light straw coloured greeny thing here which I'm putting on, and then I'm just going to break it up a bit with these colours. So if whatever greens you've got, you can just break the base green up with it, just lay some other things over the top. But just keep them subtle. If you need to mix them with white or anything, do that. Or green mixed with a bit of pale yellow would be good. So I'm just making sure here that it's all needle felted down really well. And if I haven't mentioned it, I needle felt onto 100% wool felt, and it can be any colour if you're doing paintings, because you will cover it over anyway. You just have to be thorough that you do cover it over. So that's that side of the picture more or less. We're going to put a few little tiny trees, distant trees in a moment, just so that we've got something to look at on that side. So that's what these colours are here. So I'm going to start off by putting the dark bits in. I'm just looking for some tall trees, just like pine trees, and some bushes. So I'm not being particular about putting these in either. I'm just blobbing it down because it's so far away that you're just going to see the basic shapes rather than anything else. And again, all of this is up to you, what you want to put in and what you want to leave out. So I started with the dark colour, and then I will go in and add some little bits of lighter colour and things, just touches of light green on some of the trees. See, this is more representative of the colour. I'm not quite sure why it gets so washed out. I do work by a window, so it might be sometimes that the light comes in at certain angles and things. So you see what I mean? It's just vague tree shapes. So, and if you go back over those, like I don't know whether you can see there very well, but I just had a bit of lighter green, and I've just touched the edges of some of the trees with that. And obviously, the further away from you they go, the shorter they will be, or smaller they will be. So now what I want to do is, I envisioned this as sort of like um, a field full of dry grass, but it could be corn, hay, that sort of thing, whatever. So whatever colour you want this, I liked it with the yellowy colour because we're going to set red poppies or red flowers against it, and the yellow sets that off really well. So I've done a lot of it first of all in just a basic colour, and then I started to mix a little bit of green, as you can see, in with that yellow colour, because as it comes towards me I want more green in it, and then it will also get darker as well, because you wouldn't want the whole of this field just to be this yellow. It would be too much. Now if you noticed, I mixed all the bits of the greens and the yellows together there, and I pulled them upwards because I want the strands, what strands you can see, to be facing up, facing towards the top of the picture. It doesn't make, it wouldn't matter if you laid it the other way, you could, but it's just the way I do things. I don't know how much difference it makes, but to me, if it's that close and they grow upwards, then I really ought to be trying to make them look like they're going upwards. That's my way of thinking. And I'm doing the same over the gold coloured field there as well. I just wanted to bring some of it as if it looks like it was growing up, because you'll see in a minute when it gets up really close, everything's going to be quite big because it's really, really close to it. And I think it makes a difference. So, but do whatever you think you'd like to have for your picture. And I'm adding a little bit of extra sky because my field was going up and off the top of the picture and I didn't like it. So I've just added a bit of extra sky to lower the hill height. And that area there is where I do add a little bit of blue later on. And now I've mixed a bit more of the green and yellow together, and I'm just laying it in patches over the main field. I just don't want a big blob of gold, that's all it is. And a field would have shade and things anyway, so don't worry about this. I'm putting some dark brown. If you hadn't got the dark brown, but you did have a dark bluey colour, something like that, you could probably use that as well, because this is all going to be in shade, and you'll see in a bit I just need a dark background to it. These are just some of the greens I'm going to use to make the grass out of, and you'll notice I've got 3 or 4 different greens there, and I'll just pull them. I don't want them mixed perfectly, I just like them to have some strands so that they're different colours. So as you look at it, you'll get glints of lighter colours and darker colours, and I'm laying that fairly thinly, again facing upwards along the edge here. And I'm literally just building different depths of colour up so that eventually you will have lots of colour and shadows and all sorts as you look through this bit here. So you probably would think, well, you're just wasting your time because you're just covering over the layers below, but you're not. If you do it thinly enough, you're not, and you will see vague bits of underneath, and that's what gives it its nice bit of depth there. Now these are another thing. I put these in, I'm not really sure what they are, something like foxgloves, that kind of thing. I put them in because I thought I wanted a bit of interest up the top. And they were fine, but again, this was another one where I'd finished my picture and I'd pinned it up on the wall, which is what I always do. I like to just look at my picture for a while, make sure I'm happy with it. And they bugged me. So in the end, the 4 that you could see at the top, all these top ones I'm putting there, I actually removed those. But I did leave some of the lower ones down that were on the further down the bank. But that top row, I took all of those off because I found it distracting in the end. So you can have a look at the final picture and decide whether you'd like to have them on there or not. There's certain things about them that made it nice because it gave you something to look at the top of the picture. But whether it's just that I just didn't like them or I didn't like the way they looked, I'm not really sure. So here I've started to put in some thicker strands, which are going to be the stems of the plants and a few leaves and things like that. Now I know these red plants, I know these red flowers aren't poppies, but I'm not sure, to be honest, what they are. I just make flowers up unless I'm doing something specific. So I don't know whether they're a real flower or what, but I liked them. And I made most of the ones I did, the 3 or 4 big ones that have got, I believe it's 7 petals each. But I liked the red against the gold. It makes it pop out. So to do these, I start off with just the basic red and I'm marking in where I want my petals, and then the highlights on most of this is some red mixed with some of the orange, the colours that you've already used. So if you've done a darker orange in the sky, just mix that with a bit of red and pop it on. And then this shadowy bit is the same red mixed with a bit of black or a bit of dark blue. That would be fine. So I'm just highlighting the top of the petal and darkening down the bottom of it. And if you have a flower that you'd like, copy that flower, find a picture of and use that one. And I do take a little bit of the red that I mixed with the black or the dark blue and I just highlight, or not highlight, sorry, I just outline a few of the petals so that they stand out a bit more. You just don't want a heavy dark line like you've done it with a Sharpie. And I know I'm going to put a black centre to this flower, so I wanted to darken down the bowl area, and then I've put the centre in, and then I will build the other leaves, then I will build the other petals up around it. So when you're doing these, you just need to give a little bit of thought about where the light would catch the petals and where it would be dark. So like this petal here, I'm actually looking the underneath of the petal, so that's going to be darker. Whereas the others that you see so far, they are open to the sky, so they would be lighter. So just have a little bit of thought where each petal is facing and what you can see of each petal. So can you see I've darkened it around where the black bit is, so you've got looks like it's going into a bowl, and then I'm just highlighting some of the outsides at the tops of the other petals. And then again I'm putting in the stalks, and they've got a bit of a dark side and a bit of a light side. I won't show you every red flower that I make because they're all basically done the same way. So I darken the centre down again there, and then I will put a little black blob in a minute. And then I build the petals nearest to me. So in the final picture that I end up with as well, I do have an extra flower that I don't show you on this bit, but if you look at the final picture at the end, you'll see I've put in an extra big red flower because I thought it balanced it better. And I didn't like the flat black centre, so I've added just a little bit of highlight white. If only I could needle felt at that speed, it would be great. I could pretend that this is my normal speed, I suppose. I don't think you'd believe me though. So that's those two, as I say, and then we just I added another one, as you can see there, and then there is another one that goes on later on the left hand side as well. You'll have to determine if you make this when it feels like you've got enough red flowers and where to put them, unless you're copying mine. So it's basically the same thing. On this one also I haven't done the petals, but it's just a red bit with the orange mixed with some red for the centre at the top, and then you're just putting in a light and a dark line for these stems. And the little white flowers are really done in the same way. I think I had 7 petals on these. I think these are daisies. That was what I had in mind. So I just used white. I didn't do anything fancy with these. I just used some white and then popped a yellow centre on and a little bit of gold. So it started off with gold and then I added a little bit of yellow as a highlight. But I didn't do lots of shading on the leaves of those, on the petals of those, sorry. This little bit of dark is just to shadow, having said I didn't do much, but I meant on the white petals themselves. This is just to shadow that little yellow bit right at the base and define 1 or 2 of the petals. Again, less is more, so just be careful you don't want it looking like you've drawn round it. If you don't want to do the dark and light strands separately on these, you could roll a bit of light and dark green together and just put it down. I'm just popping in some leaves this time. You can add lots of leaves on the different plants as you go along if you want to, or I added a few extra. Again, this is another thing I went back to after I'd finished the picture and decided I needed more leaves. But again, I didn't do anything fancy with it, I just added some green, and then I just go underneath the leaves with just a touch of darker green. Or if you don't have lots of different greens, just mix your green with a little bit of blue or black. We're really just trying to make sure that the things at the front of the picture here are a little bit 3D rather than very, very flat looking, because these are the focal point of the picture. And then it's just about, I say with the white ones as well, just about putting in as many little flowers as you like wherever you like, just until you're happy with the look you've got. And I tried to make sure that every little flower has a stalk, because we're going to add a load more stalks in a minute as well. And again, you can use light and dark and roll them together. So take a little while and build up quite a few of these all at the front. They don't all have to have flowers on the top, they can just be long bits of grass as well, but you want quite a few at the front here. And again, this is the same gold that I used in the sky. But you could have any colours. You could have blue flowers, yellow flowers, whatever takes your fancy really. Because I'd got the red, I did try purple and I didn't like it for some reason this time. So that's why you don't have any purple flowers or anything. And this is me, I'm just putting in loads more stalks. Make sure some cross over each other, things like that, because it will give more of an illusion of the depth to the picture if you do. Now you can see when you look through the ones I'm putting on now to the green and that behind, there's all sorts of different subtle shades of green behind it, which is why I did all that layering first. So here's the first two iterations of the picture. The first one with the stalk things that I took out, then I thought I was finished, and then I went back and this is actually the final version, because I added a little bit of blue to the sky on the left hand side, and I added a few more flowers as well, because I just didn't think it was quite had quite enough. I was pondering whether to put a bee in, but then I changed my mind because I think it actually looked nicer as it was. And that's today's picture. If you enjoyed it, please give me a like and subscribe if you'd like to. If you'd like to join me on one of the other pictures that's on the screen now, I look forward to seeing you there. Otherwise, I will see you on either Tuesday or Friday for the next picture. Thank you very much for joining me. See you then. Bye.